We're often told that high intelligence is this incredible gift, a pure advantage. But what if, for a lot of people, it actually feels more like a kind of profound exile? Today, we're diving into the loneliness that so often comes with a brilliant mind. Just picture this for a second. Have you ever been there? You're right in the middle of explaining something you're passionate about. In your mind, it's all connected, this beautiful, intricate web of ideas. And then you look up and you see it. That polite nod, the blank stare, the bridge between your world and theirs just vanishes. And in that instant, you stop. You just stop. You flash a little smile, you simplify everything way down, and you just tuck the rest of your thoughts away. You learn that to connect with others, you have to disconnect from a part of yourself. And that daily act of self-censorship, that constant camouflaging, it starts to slowly and silently hollow you out. Now, to make this feeling really concrete, let's talk about someone named Maya. Her story, well, it might just feel incredibly familiar to some of you listening. You see, as a kid, Maya always felt like she was from another planet. I mean, at 5 years old, she was wrestling with these huge questions about life and death, but at the exact same time, the world was just too much for her. She'd burst into tears from sounds that were just way too loud for her nervous system to handle. So she learned a really painful lesson pretty quickly. Her curiosity, her intellect, it wasn't always seen as a gift. A lot of the time, people took it as a threat to their own ego. And so to protect them and really to protect herself from being pushed away, she started to hide who she was. And now, as an adult, that hiding has turned into this really sophisticated coping mechanism. It's fascinating, really. Maya basically lives with two different vocabularies. For herself, in her own head, her thoughts are complex, abstract, and full of nuance. But for everyone else, she translates everything into a simplified, easy-to-digest version, and it is absolutely mentally exhausting. So today, Maya is 28. If you looked at her from the outside, you'd say she's a total success story. She's always in rooms full of people, friends, coworkers, but on the inside, she's never, ever felt more profoundly and completely alone. But here's the thing. Maya's story isn't just about feelings. It is literally rooted in biology, in psychology. So let's shift gears and look at the science, because this whole experience is actually built right into the brain's hardware. See, high intelligence isn't just a faster processor, it's a completely different operating system. Brain scans show us it's a different architecture, more gray matter to process complex data, and really crucially, more interconnected white matter. This creates a mind that doesn't think in a straight line, it thinks in these incredible webs of association. And that difference in how the brain processes things leads to this really well-documented communication gap. Researchers have found that once the difference in IQ between two people gets wider than about 30 points, deep, meaningful communication starts to seriously break down. And this isn't about one person being better, it's about two different operating systems just failing to run the same complex program together. Now, this is a huge concept to understand, asynchronous development. It explains Maya's childhood perfectly, right? It's when your intellectual brain is operating like a 40-year-old's, but your emotional and social toolkit is still trying to catch up to your actual age. And that creates this constant, grinding friction inside. And then there's this incredible theory from a psychologist named Dabrowski that finally gives a name to all that intensity. He called it hyperexcitability. It just means your nervous system is fundamentally wired to experience everything, joy, pain, sights, sounds, empathy, at a much, much higher volume. It's not about being too sensitive. It's a physiological fact. So, what happens when you have this intense, differently wired brain? Well, eventually, you run headfirst into a wall, society. And that's where this really devastating psychological trap is set. Society puts you in this cruel, unspoken bind. Choice A. You can be your full, brilliant, authentic self and risk being labeled as arrogant or a threat, which leads to isolation. Or, choice B, you can have that connection and intimacy you crave, but the price you pay is silencing the very part of you that makes you, you. And that impossible choice leads directly to what we call social camouflaging. It's that daily performance of being normal. You're constantly editing your vocabulary, pretending to be fascinated by small talk, and deliberately putting the brakes on your own thoughts so you don't overwhelm people. And the long-term cost of this, it's just staggering. As one writer put it so perfectly, it's the existential horror of waking up years down the line and realizing that the entire personality you show the world is just a defense mechanism, and you literally have no idea who you are underneath the mask. right? So here's the bottom line. This is not sustainable. That constant masking leads to a total burnout. The performance creates this deep, toxic shame for just being who you are. And for so many, this path ends in a very specific kind of despair, existential depression. A depression that's born from asking, what's the point of a life if I have to spend it in hiding? Okay, so if any of this is hitting home, this last part is for you. We have to completely reframe this entire experience. I really need you to hear this. Your loneliness is not some kind of personal failure. And your emotional and intellectual intensity, it is not a flaw that you need to fix. It's the opposite. It is the natural, unavoidable proof of the remarkable, rare architecture of your mind. It's the very evidence of your neurodivergence. You're not too much. The gap you feel exists because your brain is processing the world in high-resolution, full-spectrum color, while so much of the world was built for and is comfortable with black and white. So the real takeaway here, the big one, is a call to be brave. In a world that is built for the average, the most courageous and healing thing you can possibly do is stop apologizing for your genius. Let go of the mask. I know it was a shield you needed to survive, but at some point, that shield becomes a cage. And that leaves us with one last and I think hopeful question. Letting go of the mask is the first step. The next is to start searching. Not to be understood by everyone, but to finally find the few who already truly speak your language. So, are you ready for that?